All right, everyone, welcome to another episode of Film Seizure. This week we have a deep thought for y'all. Very deep thought. We're gonna try to discover the what is it? The most important question. Question.
Well, it starts with the answer to
answer?
everything.
And then,
Yeah.
but then, what is the question?
What
That's
is the
more
question?
important.
Exactly. Helen Mirren really wants to know what the fucking question is.
She does, and but not as much as she wants to watch TV.
Watch the telly. Yep.
But we have for y'all 2005's The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, based on the novel by Douglas Adams, directed by Garth Jennings, who has made Jeff's favorite animated features, Sing and Sing 2.
Yep, I was there on opening night for both of those.
Say hello, Jeff. There he is, Jeff Arbuckle.
Hey, what's up? Hey, what? How's it going, everybody?
And we're also with our other esteemed co-host, Charles Moore. Say hello, Chuck.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Go ahead.
Chuck. I was hoping that you would introduce yourself as something like Chevrolet, Prefect or something. Parfait.
Yeah.
Chevrolet Parfait.
I'll go with that. I'll go with Chevrolet Parfait.
To go along with our Ford Prefect that we have here.
Yeah, this is the last movie of the year 2021. And you guys were kind enough to let me pick two films at the end of the month. We watched a great one last week in A Fish Called Wanda. And I kind of thought this would be a fun movie to do at the end of the year because it's kind of, we're more than 20 years past Y2K, but the world was going to end at the end of, New Year's in the year 2000. And it didn't. But this is a more cataclysmic, fun romp that I thought would be fun for the end of the year.
Well, you say that as if you now are questioning your own decision to pick this movie, Chuck. Let's explore that a little bit.
No, not really. It is unlike last week's movie which is also hilarious. It may not have as much story beats to talk about as last week. I think, Jason, you mentioned this at least in our chat. So while it's, in my opinion, a very hilarious movie with lots of wonderful performances, it might be hard to talk about. That's it. That's all.
It's a little basic on plot, yeah. And it has a little bit of a, let's rescue the princess storyline. But it's really funny, and it's pretty damn entertaining, and the jokes are fast and furious. And sort of like Fish Called Wanda, they kind of vary in degrees of intricacy, right?
Right.
Which makes the movie fun.
Yeah, there's
and engaging.
Right. You go from the incredibly broad comedy of the Ford Prefect character arriving on Earth, thinking that cars were the dominant species, trying to handshake a car coming at him that isn't going to stop,
right?
To a little bit more real thinkers as far as like the whole concept of the randomizing space jump thing. Is hilarious. This is an extremely British movie, by the way. I think it should be brought up that everything about Douglas Adams can be encapsulated in just simply saying, "Yep, he's British."
Definitely lots of British humor. So, having watched, we talked about this last week, having watched Monty Python a lot as a kid, and maybe that's kind of why I tied these movies together. I don't know why, because, Cleese and Palin were in the last movie, and this movie has a lot of British humor to it. Mm-hmm. You kind of do need to know their humor to get a lot of the jokes.
I also, this was also a 6-episode, well, it turned out to be a mini series. It was going to be a continuing series on the BBC. But there were all sorts of issues with Douglas Adams, but at the around the same time, or not long before he did that, or that he sold that to the BBC. He was like a story. I don't know if he was the script editor exactly, or if he was just wrote a couple of. Oh, no, yeah, he was the script editor for the 17th season of Doctor Who, which was perfect fit because that's Tom Baker era. But there was a lot. Douglas Adams did not get along with the BBC, and it created all sorts of a problem with continuing the Hitchhiker's Guide. However, I think Hitchhiker's Guide kind of begat Red Dwarf a little bit. Not the same people, completely based on two different books, but they have the same kind of very British humor. And I don't know if you guys had Red Dwarf play like every night on PBS and where you grew up, but it did here. Definitely did here.
I've seen Red Dwarf. I don't remember it.
Yeah. I don't know it very well.
But I do remember reading Hitchhiker's Guide, at least the first two books in the mid 90s. And I loved them. I have the full compendium. I don't know if it's 5 or 6 books. I can't remember how many stories are in there. But I read through at least The Diner at the End of the Universe, which this movie kind of covers those two stories. And it integrates part of So Long and Thanks for All the Fish, which I think is explained a lot later. Or maybe that is in The Diner at the End of the Universe. I can't remember.
Well, So Long and Thanks for All the Fish, I think, was the third or fourth book.
I think it is the third or fourth book. All I can say for this movie is that it very nicely captures the humor of the books in a very cool kind of way. So and while Douglas Adams, I think you said, he had a part in writing this. He died a few years later, I think, after writing this. So
he died in 2001. So he died 4 years before the movie came out. But yeah, I think they took a treatment and cleaned up a treatment of his for the movie, I think, or something like that.
Something along those lines. Oh yeah, he died in 2001. You're right. But yeah, this to me is a pretty big achievement because, like Kurt Vonnegut, a lot of the humor is in your brain. Like reading it and laughing at it and showing it would be almost too ridiculous to even laugh at. It's hard to explain, but they do it nicely here. I thought the jokes are played off well. Even starting with the So Long and Thanks for All the Fish poem read as song, as all the dolphins fly out of the universe. It's just really funny, I think.
Yeah. Well, I like the whole idea that so dolphins, there are several either interdimensional or otherworldly creatures that live on this planet with us. We think that they're just normal Earth creatures,
right?
But they're actually something more than that. And we have, the whole time, dolphins have been communicating with us in a very, very complex system of language. And we've simply misinterpreted it as them just wanting to knock a soccer ball around, and jump through a hoop, when they were actually saying the world is going to end. So long and thanks for all the fish.
Yeah.
So they say that the dolphins are the second most intelligent creature on Earth, and humans are the third. What was the first? Did they ever say it?
I think it's the mice, isn't it?
Well, maybe, yeah, it could be the mice.
Yeah, I believe it's the mice.
That makes
sense. They don't say it because you're not supposed to know.
Right. That makes sense. Yep.
Yes. Yeah. They might actually mention mice later at the very end, that mice are like architects. I think they kind of do mention that at the very end.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess that should have been implied. I didn't really think about it.
Right.
At the end. Yeah.
Yep. But again, like you said, everything's coming so quickly in this movie. You'd have to like pause it a lot or watch it like 3 times in a row to catch everything.
I thought about watching the British, because that's on Hulu and also on BritBox. I have both of those. I thought about watching that, but I don't know. I didn't end up, because I just thought it's like, nah, I don't want to muddy the waters with this.
That being said, everyone knows why I brought it here. I like it, obviously, or I wouldn't have suggested it. Jason, I'll start with you first. What did you think of this movie?
I had not seen it since I saw it in a theater. I remember liking it then, and I like it now. But I don't know. I don't love it. It's not a complete film to me. It feels a little disconnected. It feels very haphazard at times. It seems very pleased with itself at times. But I did enjoy it, and I did laugh a lot. And I would watch it again. I think it can, in some ways, reward multiple viewings. But I don't know that I'd want to pay that close attention to it again. So it's conflicting for me.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, right. I think. Go ahead, Jeff.
No, I was going to say I think it could also review multiple wardings as well.
What? Are you making fun of me?
Yeah.
I missed it completely.
Sorry, the second head in my neck really wanted to tell that joke. No, go ahead, Chuck. Sorry.
Oh no! All I was going to say that, like, maybe there are more criticisms, but one of them is it feels overlong at sometimes, but it also feels like it rushes a lot at the end.
The third act is very, 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 very rushed.
Yeah.
Yes, but up until that point, I feel like a lot of it is like, okay, you're belaboring this a little bit for me, which some of that I thought was cool. Like a lot of the showing of the Hitchhiker's book, I thought was cool, but it's like, I don't need to see this 7 times or however many times they show it. Like, go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, no, I was thinking about that too, and I think I even made this. In fact, it was my last note. It was that a lot of the scenes are funny. However, I do wonder if the concept is better as a series or as a novel than it is a 2-hour movie made to play to the mainstream, if that makes sense. We got to have the satisfaction of boy meets girl, girl takes off with another boy, boy finds girl, boy gets girl in the long run. And it's like none of that was the best parts of the movie.
Right.
In fact, I have some serious issues with parts of that. But the going back to the novel is where this really helps. Going back to the Hitchhiker's Guide is why this works as a novel and could conceivably work if this was stretched out. But when you pack it into the 2-hour time frame, it's now cutting away from things that it's like, okay, yes, that's funny and that's fine, but you've taken me out of the story. And yeah, I don't know. It's to echo what everybody said. I think it's funny. I think it's something that's well worth watching. And there are, I mean, the 4 main leads plus our paranoid robot. Those guys, they are worth watching. And if they ended up making a sequel, I would have really wanted to go see that too. But yeah, I can kind of understand the criticism of it's a movie that will entertain you, but it's going to jerk you around a little bit. I do appreciate some of the adventure spot because that is where my classic Doctor Who love gets tickled because it's a lot of running, it's a lot of silly kind of almost Deus Ex Machina kind of getting out of those problems, and especially knowing the episodes that Douglas Adams wrote for the Tom Baker run of Doctor Who, it's like, oh, it's all here. It is absolutely all here, and you can see all of that cheekiness of that, and I like that a lot. However, a Doctor Who serial stretches that out a little bit better and doesn't doesn't break you up with the explanation of something from the book. So it's a very conflicting review that I have to, because I like this movie. I think it's very funny. It's just that some of its issues are very glaring.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, go ahead, Jason.
Go ahead. You're fine.
I was just going to say I'll co-sign on the sequel. In fact, I think this movie with a sequel done well would make the first movie better.
Oh, potentially.
Ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's some gaps that could be filled, much in like, well, maybe not much like, but it's kind of how I felt about how Halloween Kills filled in a lot of the blanks of Halloween 2018. I think there's some room there to give some substance to some things that just kind of got flown by in this movie and are explained better in the book.
Sure.
I would be curious to watch the TV show because I do think that they can take their time. The jokes can have more impact. You can build more story. But the characters are what really carry me. Not the characters. I shouldn't even say the characters. It's the performances that carry me through.
100%.
Yeah, I think that the TV show, Jason, I think it would almost make it funnier to watch the much, much, much lower budget, and basically see the weirdness of that played completely and totally straight.
I imagine it almost like the British Office meets Doctor Who.
Oh yeah,
right. Yeah. I'll tell you who. It's no surprise, but Sam Rockwell is amazing in this. He's he's almost too good to where he's annoying, right? But he should be annoying.
Yeah, he almost. You're right, because in some ways he seems like he's in a different movie than everybody else.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I guess that Jim Carrey was once tapped for this role, and that didn't happen. But I see it. Yeah. I can see Sam Rockwell playing this in his head like he would imagine Jim Carrey would play it, right?
Yeah.
I really, really like Mos Def in this. I think that was inspired casting, and he pulls it off really well. I fucking love John Malkovich in this. He's so underplayed.
I said he looks like Elton John in my notes.
with spider legs.
Well, it's just his hair and his glasses, which also he takes off the glasses. He's got little buttholes for eyes.
Yeah, he has no eyes. He has sphincter eyes.
I tell you what I don't like. I don't care for Zooey Deschanel in this. I don't like her performance or her character. Martin Freeman has kind of like made a career out of playing the exasperated everyman. And if I hadn't seen him play that 100 times after this movie, I would have probably appreciated this performance more. But now it feels like just the same guy he always plays.
Okay, I've got notes about that too. I've already sent one note to you because I was between a rock and a hard place with these two leads. In one regard, you want to like Martin Freeman because how can you not like Martin Freeman?
Sure.
In general.
Yep.
But he's kind of an asshole.
He is.
There are times in this movie where it's like, dude, if you get left behind on this planet, I'm okay with this. And there are other times where like he's trying to figure out if he should go through the little Stargate thing to go to the smart people planet. And he sits there and he belabors it after watching 3 people go through, apparently not to their doom.
I found that really frustrating too.
And it's like it's one of those kind of things where it's like, come on, dude. It's like this movie can't move forward until you do something. Either you say you're not going to go or you're going to go. And it's like I was kind of feeling like the bummed out robot in that scene. You know, it's like,
all right. Well, you bring up my least favorite character, and it's Marvin.
What?
I mean,
that's hilariously weird.
I really find his character to be annoying.
Wow. You would go against almost everybody's memory of what their favorite part of this movie is.
I just don't like him. He's Eeyore from the Winnie the Pooh, and I never liked that character either. It's just
Too depressed for you?
it's not depressing. It's just annoying. It's like just shut
Not
the
that-
fuck up.
I
It's
mean,
like just-
the
Jason-
character is too depressed.
Yeah.
Not.
Jason's like, just pick yourself up by the bootstraps, you little fucker.
Well, Jeff, there's something to that, because it's not that I would say that to a person who is feeling that way, but everything that his depression is played for laughs, and it's kind of fucked up.
Well, I would say that that's not true. His situation is what's played for laughs. That he's a robot. That somebody came along and decided that robots need to actually have exaggerated regular human feelings, which of course that means that if you're like the ship is happy, he's overly happy.
The ship is hilarious.
Yeah, it's Thomas Lennon doing the voice of that. But yeah, he is overly happy. And so that means that some robots are going to get the overly sad because they're exaggerated human responses to things. It shocks me that you're anti that.
I was not digging it. That was funny for the first third of the movie. Maybe it just wore thin.
Fair enough. And so like, okay, well, let's talk about Zooey Deschanel, because I was starting to get a lot of the feelings that I was getting from Kate Winslet in Eternal Sunshine, because it's like she's almost annoyingly cute, and she's obviously smart enough to continue to fly the ship someplace. And because the president that she took off with, which is the Sam Rockwell, is a fucking moron.
What's he say to her, though? It kills me. He says, "Is this guy boring you? Why don't you talk to me instead? I'm from a different planet.
Yeah.
Want to see my spaceship?"
Right. which is hilarious. But then when she goes, that's a shit scenario. And you know what? Martin Freeman is kind of right. Yeah. That she's a flake. You know, it's like she meets Martin Freeman, and this is a flashback that he's talking to Mos Def, and he's like, I met this girl the other night, and they were at this party, and of course he makes an ass of himself by saying that everybody was an idiot, just as the music, because that's the everyman thing. Right. And then, so they go and talk on the roof, and it's like they have a real connection. And then this flashier guy comes up, and she just leaves with him. That's a really shitty character.
I mean, she was kind of setting him up for this too by saying, "Let's get away now."
Well,
that's fair.
Somewhere. That's fair. I mean, you can say that that's a setup, because also she is like another one of those mid-2000s manic pixie dream girl types, where it's like, oh, this girl is fun and exciting and full of adventure, and she wants to do everything right now unannounced, and it's like, okay, that's kind of endearing. And if she didn't just up and leave with the next guy who showed up and said he has a spaceship, there may be something there if it's played as a bit of a joke about people like that, but she's not set up that way. It's bad. It's bad character development. Because
I think that's rushing it for the movie, unfortunately.
Probably, yeah, sure. Probably. And because the next two acts, she is not apologetic about it. And in fact, that makes Martin Freeman's character, Arthur Dent, I kept thinking that his name was Arthur Frayne. That's Zardoz. But anyway,
it all comes back to Zardoz.
It all comes back to Zardoz when we talk about weird sci-fi movies. But no, it ends up making Arthur Dent a worse character, because he has to react to the way that she's acting towards him that's unearned by her own actions. You know what I mean? Like it's this vicious circle that these two characters are in, and I didn't want them to be together at the end. And that's exactly what we got, because there was no confidence that there would be a sequel to this. So they had to basically do 3 books in 1 act, essentially.
Yeah.
I think those are all fair criticisms. And I think in a movie like this, I don't pay that much attention to that. Like, I'm not discrediting your thoughts on the characters because I think they're valid. But at the same time, it's like, okay, we're moving on. We're moving on now, right? Like, but at the end when they're together, it's kind of like, yeah, that's a bit shallow for both of them, right? And I think just the whole way they react to their own planet being destroyed is shallow in a lot of ways.
Well, for Arthur, it most certainly is. For her, it's I think she is appropriately struggling with the idea that she ran away with the guy who signed the order to blow up Earth.
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
sure.
She should be mad at him. But that was her overriding anger, was at him, not at her planet being destroyed. So that's shallow.
Yeah. And she gets shitty at Arthur, who continuously tried to tell her, but then she's like, don't tell me, don't say anything to me. And it's like, what do you think he's gonna say? Are you that full of yourself?
I hate that shit in movies where they delay the narrative, big plot hit through bad writing. Ugh, I hate it.
Are you guys going to make me dislike this movie?
No. I mean, in the end, like, here's the thing. And here's the thing about her character. She is designed for you to like that she is adventurous and typically the one person making all the right decisions. She just made a shitty decision at the beginning that taints her good decisions down the line.
Right. That's fair.
I mean, so, and to be honest with you, like, Zoe Deschanel is somebody who lights up the screen every time she's on it in whatever she's in. Even when she was
doughy eyes, man.
It is, and it's her. It's the way that she talks. It's the way that she holds herself, and like in Elf, she's disaffected in that, but yet every scene she's in takes that movie over the top. That Will Ferrell can't do himself, and it's his movie.
I'll admit to this, though. I agree with you. I'm kind of over Zoe Deschanel in general, so I think that, or that character, that person in movies, and maybe it is a very 2000s era character, like, it aggravates me. It kind of grates on my nerves a little bit. So she was the character I had the most problems with just because of who she was. And Zoe is so good at playing that character, like you said, it makes it even more annoying.
Right. Well, yeah, and that's that's the thing too. It's like, that was those types of characters, and the queen of them all is still a character I do like in a movie that I still do like, and that's Natalie Portman in Garden State. But those types of characters were patches for mostly male writers who didn't know how to write females.
Probably, yeah.
To write female characters that people would want to be around, when in fact it really isn't that difficult to write a character you want to be around. I mean, but it was a patch for those Gen X writers to kind of, when they were coming up and making movies, to do that. Now, it's very possible that this character is very much like this in the book and in every other adaptation or any other situation. But I have a feeling that if you give it more time, you can make a joke out, or make a satire out of that character, which would be the appropriate thing to do. And unfortunately, it's played straight in this movie.
Right. Yeah, I think she is more developed in the books, obviously, because she's around a lot longer. But anyway, this movie, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, begins with a man, right? Arthur Dent, whose planet is destroyed by Vogons, who are making an interstellar highway, which is hilarious to me. Like, you have to destroy a planet to fly through space. It's so dumb.
Well, which is funny because, of course, his home in rural England is going to be knocked down for a highway.
Right. Yeah. So it's the same thing that's happening to him.
It's just the bypass.
Right. It's the bypass is blown up to the macro scale.
Right.
And which is funny because in Cowboy Bebop there are jumps that you go through that take you from planet to planet, and so that would be the highway, but you stop at the planet, go around the planet, and then go into the next one. You don't blow up the planet to build the next jump.
Right. Right, you would think Earth would be a destination on the highway, not an obstruction.
It would be an exit. It wouldn't be exactly.
Yeah. But it's pretty funny. So he has this friend, Ford Prefect, who is an alien, played wonderfully by Mos Def. And he shows up at Arthur's house with a shopping cart of beer because he wants to get tremendously drunk with Arthur and drive him, or, and then take him off planet. He wants to save him. And it's funny, he has a line about they're going to destroy your home. And he's like, you already know? Like, how did you know they were going to destroy my home? Not even thinking the cosmic level that Ford Prefect is. So he ends up giving beer to all the people that are going to destroy Arthur's home to hold them off. And he said, they promised, that they wouldn't destroy your home until they finished all the beer. And he's like, well, how far do you think we could trust him? He's like, at least as far until the earth is gone.
At least to the end of the world. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is about 12 minutes.
Yes. And I love that they go to the bar, and while Mos Def is trying to explain this to him, there's a woman in the background that is just like her
Rap.
face. Yeah. Yes. It's almost like a Coen Brothers person that's just there making a stupid face, and then when they're about to leave, he buys everyone around, and the bartender's like, should we put bags on our head? And they're like, he's like, sure. He's like, do you think that'll work? He's like, no, or whatever he says. I don't know exactly what he says, but
no, it's pretty much that. It's like, yeah, sure, whatever. Do you think it'll help? No. And then he just leaves.
No. But then we find out the most important thing in the world to Ford Prefect, which is a towel. He runs into Arthur Dent's destroyed home, and this is expanded on a lot in the books, like what a towel is to people. But he runs into Arthur's home, grabs him a towel. Arthur is freaking out that his home is about to be destroyed, not Earth. And
it's already in rubble because the construction guys polished off the beer immediately.
Yeah, he's panicking that his home has been destroyed, not realizing that thousands upon thousands of Vogon ships are lining up to destroy Earth. They do end up, as we know, Ford Prefect is a hitchhiker in the universe, and they end up hitching a ride on a Vogon ship. And what do we find out on the Vogon ship? One thing the book tells you should never do is allow a Vogon to read you poetry.
Right. And also Vogons hate hitchhikers.
Yes.
The Vogons are like overly bureaucratic slobs, basically.
Yeah.
And I do like the main Vogon whenever something happens, his reactions to things are just like, oh. It's like there's no
Yeah. I like that their design. I love it. They're really like overly exaggerated old men with bushy eyebrows.
Yeah,
kind of people that would be bureaucratic and stuffy and annoying.
Well, they even wear like tux tops. Like yeah. Their soldiers are dressed like sex maniacs, but the actual leaders have like the ties and the tux jacket, and yeah,
it's great. So yeah, the Vogons did blow up the Earth for a highway, and the leader of the Vogons reads Arthur Dent a poem, to which is terrible. I wish I wrote it down, but probably shouldn't have to. Arthur basically tells him, go ahead, Jeff, you were going to say something.
No, the Vogons are the third worst poets in the galaxy. The second, I don't remember who they said that was. And then the first was just some couple that lived in Sussex or something.
Yeah, and they're now destroyed.
So they're now gone. So
yeah. Yeah, it's like Maggie and Tom Smith of Sussex.
Right. Yeah.
But Arthur basically lies and tells this Vogon that he liked his poem, and gives some bullshit answer. And the Vogon reads into it. He's like, so you're saying that blah, 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 blah. And Arthur's like, yes. And he's like, all right, send him into space.
Right. Well, this is probably one of the first best jokes of the movie.
This is one you were alluding to earlier, right?
No,
With Mos Def?
No, it's not.
no, it's not. But this is a good one where they're looking for like how to get out, and like and at one point they're like, "Oh, what's this? Oh, it's nothing. We're gonna die."
The way
Mos Def like twirls it around. Yeah, go ahead.
He's like,
Nothing.
what's this? What's this? And he's like really into it. It looks like he's gonna make it work. And he's like, oh yeah, this is nothing. We're definitely gonna die.
And then all the sirens and everything start going off, and you expect the wall behind them to open up like a what do you call it? Air
Evacuation.
right? And but just the floor opens up and they just fall through silently.
I also love before they get captured on the ship, when Mos Def is trying to explain that they need to leave. He says, the Volgons have already destroyed a planet today. That always makes them a little and the way he delivers that line is not even a joke. It's just funny. Like, he makes it funny.
He's so good at delivering a lot of lines very quickly and at Spitfire pace that he's the one that's hard to keep up with. In most of this, or at least as long as far as like the spoken jokes. Yeah.
Right. And that's why, I mean, we've probably missed 7 hilarious things he said so far because he is so quick. But yeah, they do fall into space, and there's some kind of explanation of if you hold your breath for a certain amount of time,
30 seconds in
space, you could stay alive long enough to be rescued by,
whatever happens to be passing by in the vastness of space. Yeah.
But that's not very likely.
Right.
And right as that happened, they blip into 2 sofas.
To which they recognize the fact that they are sofas.
Yes.
And that's because
Sorry, go ahead.
They have been picked up by Zaphod Beeblebrox, the president of the galaxy. His ship that has a infinite improbability drive, and that's how they zip from one place to the next. He is the guy that Trisha, who now is calling herself Trillium, so she sounds more spacey.
She said she shortened it to sound more spacey.
Right.
Longer.
Which, by the way, I believe she's just there in the book. I don't think she knows Arthur or any.
No, I agree with that, but I did not go back and read this like I planned to, but I think that's accurate.
Yeah. So she, but anyway, it's a lot of confusion for a little while, and we don't exactly know what is going on, but we find out that Zaphod Beeblebrox has kidnapped himself, and they show that, which is pretty hilarious because he's unveiling this ship, and he's like, all right, hey everybody, now I'm gonna kidnap myself. And he just like swings in and takes the ship while everybody is like gasping and trying to figure out what the hell just happened.
Yeah, it's so good. So
he is so much in a completely different movie because his comedy is probably what British people think our comedy is.
Yeah, it very well could be. There's a scene with him later that I don't want to mention yet that fucking floors me, and it's just physical comedy. And it kills me every fucking time. But what's hilarious is Zaphod, yes, you said had abducted himself in the ship for a reason. And he's talking about his ego with Trillium. And she's like, hey, there's something important. And he's like, hey, if there's something more important than my ego on this ship, I want it caught and shot right now. Hey, come on. I love it.
That's around the same time that the most inexplicable cameo happens with Jason Schwartzman.
Oh yeah, for like a 0.2 seconds.
Yeah. I don't even know who the hell he's supposed to be. It's so fast, but it's like, oh, that's Jason Schwartzman.
Yeah. Guessing he had a longer part originally and it got cut out.
No idea.
Yeah, maybe.
There's also an early Kelly MacDonald appearance in this as a TV reporter.
Yeah, she's the one reporting on him abducting her son. And the way that she reports it is kind of like, can you believe this? Yeah, it's Yeah. So ultimately, he wants to go to the planet
Magrathea.
Magrathea, and Magrathea is where two little they're like a bunch of Benjamin Buttons there, I'm guessing, because they're like little girls who have built the ultimate computer called Deep Thought, and they ask the question that would answer, which is the name of the third book. The answer for life, the life, the universe, and everything.
Yeah.
And the computer, who's voiced by Helen Mirren, says, all right, that's going to take 7.5 million years. Come back later.
Right.
They come back 7.5 million years later. And it's a big,
this is funny.
It's a big party.
This kind of reminds me of that scene in Contact.
Yes, it does.
People are gathered for the vegans.
Yeah. And so there, so it's this big party. It's like Burning Man going on out here, and it's like everybody who's somebody is here to hear what the answer to life, the universe, and everything. And the little girls are still alive, and so they just look older now, and by older they have wrinkled makeup and white hair instead of blonde hair. Right. And so they ask, all right, well, we've come back. What's the answer to life, the universe, and everything? And there's this grand lead up to the answer, which anybody who knows anything about Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy already knows the answer is 42.
42.
To which immediately everybody in the crowd just like, and they leave.
Well, I like how she pre-qualifies it. She's like, I have an answer.
You're not gonna like it. And this is where she goes into the spiel where it's like, well, you didn't really tell me what the question was. Life, the universe, and everything is quite a broad question to ask for. So it's like, we need to build the computer to ask the ultimate question so that I can provide the ultimate answer, which is, I think, still 42. I think probably. I think what she wants is what's going to be built is a computer that will ask what the question is that equals 42.
That makes sense. That makes sense when the answer is 42. 100%.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's like, well, that's going to take however many more years. So they go off disappointed. And basically this whole essentially 8 million year process of building the supercomputer has been for nothing. And President Beeblebrox, I love saying that. Beeblebrox.
Sure. It's great. He has the video of this.
He has the video. So he knows. And so what he wants to go and find out what the question was.
Yeah, where the computer is that can give the question.
Right, because then it would give him something that he would be beloved for.
Right.
It's totally to stroke his own ego. But so they're going. The only problem is Magrathea is you don't know what the coordinates are, so they're basically just zipping around using the infinite improbability engine.
Yes, because Zaphod Beeblebrox has cut his brain in half, right, and put it into two heads, and hid one of his brains in his neck, and this brain is like obviously his id every time it pops out. And
it is insane.
Yeah. It just pounds the button every time. He's like, "Hey man, can I touch this?" He's almost like Beetlejuice when he pops out. Like, and Beeblebrox, Ooh, I don't know.
Ooh. Well, hey, Ford Prefect is from a tiny planet someplace in the vicinity of Beetlejuice.
Yeah,
that's true. That's very true. Well, I'll be. But yeah, he needs to find the coordinates for Magrathea, basically. So he's going to continue to just press the button randomly until they get there. We also found out that Beeblebrox beat someone named Huma Kavula, who's like the Huma Kavula, who's like maybe the smartest man in the universe or something like that.
He is certainly
very diplomatic, very whatever.
I would almost say that he is. I would say that he is cunning, maybe the most cunning person in the universe, because I would like to have seen more about what he's got going on with his little cult planet.
Yeah, I want to know
because
what
I have a feeling
cult
that
is about.
Yeah, the sneezing cult. Yeah, I feel like that is all part of his cunning.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because he is a villain.
I do feel like that's probably something from one of the books that
I'm sure,
just doesn't get its due in the movie. Yeah.
It is. But I don't remember it. I just know he's much more involved in the story.
It would have been more interesting to me if he were the main antagonist in this movie and not the Volgans. Is that what they are?
The Vogons.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we should also mention that the vice president, who is this woman who's actually in love with Beeblebrox, is working with the Vogons to find them, to chase after him, and to bring him back because he's got work to do. He's got papers and shit to sign.
Right.
And which none of the papers he reads or understands. He just signs them. He signs them.
He's signing autographs.
Yeah, and he signs them like hugs and kisses or something.
Yeah. Because that's what happened when he signed the order to destroy the Earth.
Right.
But even oh yeah, go ahead, keep going. Sorry.
No, so basically they are trying to get away from the Vogons, who has sent their entire fleet after them. Now they were going to hit the improbability thing, but they were too soon out of their last jump that they couldn't make the jump again. So they just have to take off in light speed, to which the main Vogon just goes, oh, as they sneak away.
And then she's like, you need to follow them. And he's like, give me the forms to follow them.
I love that. I love that those creatures, the Vogons, are so, they feel like they should be really uncivilized, but they're the exact opposite.
Right.
They look like they should be like a total mess of just grotesque, illogic, right?
Yes.
Right.
But
they have a very specific.
Everything has to have a form.
Yep.
they're like it's like they work at the place in the movie Terry Gilliam's Brazil.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Like overly bureaucratic.
Yep. Absolutely. All right, you Zarkin Froods, what's next?
Well, they go to we find out about the whole culture who believes that a giant creature has sneezed the universe into existence.
Yeah.
Now, before that, they eventually jump to that, and this is my favorite moment. They arrive as a giant ball of yarn, to which they're all yarn people.
Yes.
And Martin Freeman has to throw up.
Uh-huh.
And he throws up yarn. And it's perfect how they switch back. Like and he's like picking the last bit of yarn out, because part of him is still the yarn person as he begins to pick that out. And like it just so smoothly goes back to people. But the yarn people fucking kill me.
They're hilarious. It reminds me of Little Big Planet in a way. And I wouldn't be surprised if they got a lot of the humor and the style for that game from the book specifically, and even like the movie, the way the narrator talks is very Little Big Planet. But yeah, I can't remember which came out first actually, but they're very similar. But that scene killed me too.
Do you guys also, this just kind of hit me because it's in my notes at this point in the movie. So it must have been something that Sam Rockwell did that really struck me as George W. Bush. I mean, is he kind of doing a George W. Bush
He's got to be. That was right. The first time I saw it, that's who I thought he was being.
Yeah.
But he's like the coked out George W. Bush, not the
right. He's the manic George W. Bush.
Right.
Yeah. He sounded like George W. Bush when when Humakavula is trying to tease out his inner id as collateral. He's like, hey, take it easy now. It's very George W. Bush.
Yeah.
No, stop it. Oh, that kind of tickles. Yeah, it's very good.
So they get the coordinates to Magrathea.
Well,
from John Malkovich.
From John Malkovich.
From Elton John.
I got to talk about one thing here, Yuzar.
Is this the moment that makes you laugh really hard? Because I think I know what it is.
It's fucking hysterical. So they're trying to leave because Malkovich has gone crazy and he takes half of Zaphod Beeblebrock's brain, the one that's in his neck, right? He steals it from him as collateral for the Magrathea.
And he sticks it on a bobblehead.
He sticks it on a bobblehead and and it says, "I'm stupid" or something like that.
Yeah. It's like, hey, wait a minute, I'm not stupid. Hey, everybody come back.
But he wants them to bring him a sword or a knife or something.
It's a gun. It's a
gun.
point of view.
Thank you.
The point of view rifle.
Yes, it's an important artifact that they're to bring back.
And it is important for a guy who is at least posed as a preacher.
Yes. When they all go out on the porch and they're carrying Zaphod because he's half dead, right? Or half whatever. He's just fucked up.
Well, they surgically removed his second head. Yeah, he's pretty bummed out.
But the Vogons show up and they're like, they've been told to kill the kidnapper of Zaphod Beeblebrox, who is Zaphod Beeblebrox. And they can't
his own, right.
And they can't differentiate that. For some reason, they can't logically make the leap that we shouldn't kill that guy because we're trying to save.
Well, he also, they also can't. Right, it's like they're giving their orders. There is no change to the orders,
right,
unless it's been approved.
Right, exactly. That's fair too. And they start shooting lasers everywhere, and they're as bad as every stormtrooper you've ever seen in the universe.
Well, that is said that is luckily
they're the worst shot in the galaxy.
Yep.
Yep.
But then we have Zaphod Beeblebrox just disco dancing on the stairs in all of the lasers, and it's so funny. He's like John Travolta, maybe in Staying Alive or something.
He's a little bit Elvis too.
Elvis too, yeah.
Especially the point, like when he's
yeah. At the end he goes, ugh.
Yeah.
Who was it? This is a deep cut, but it reminds me. I think it was Bob Odenkirk in his like small role in Nothing to Lose, when Martin Lawrence and Tim Robbins are breaking in to steal. I forget what they have to steal, and there's like all the lasers and everywhere that they have to get past. But the security guard, who I think was played by Bob Odenkirk, is listening to his headphones and he's dancing like that.
I remember that.
Oh God! I mean, everybody who knows anything about Nothing to Lose remembers the spider on your head.
Oh yeah, of course.
But that's
the Scatman scene.
Oh yeah.
That movie's very funny.
That movie's hilarious.
Yeah.
Or no, it wasn't Bob Odenkirk. It was his brother, because his brother directed it. Steve Odenkirk.
Oh yeah, he did.
He's the Kung Pao. Enter the Fist guy. Yeah.
Yes,
that's another very funny movie.
Yes, it is. Yes. Anyway, that's a way off base, but that's what that reminded me of. Funny enough.
But the Vogue, 100%, and that's hilarious. The Vogons have captured or taken Trillian to their ship, and
because she she comes up with the idea of there's only one way out of this, which is to basically at that point abduct Beeblebrox. So now she is the person they're after.
And she has an aerosol can, and they're like, I don't think she can hurt him with that.
Right. They ask the vice president what that is. It's like, that's an aerosol can. It's like, oh, can it hurt him? It's like, no.
Because you had all these, they're the first civilization ever to create aerosol cans before the wheel, because they have like 6,000 armpits or something. It's so stupid. But they do end up taking her, and she's screaming for Arthur, and Arthur's of two minds himself, right? Like wants to go get her, and then he doesn't want to go get her, and he ends up getting dragged onto their ship, to which, I don't know, do they start getting fired upon and they have to take the escape pod to go chase after her? The ship's just like, here's an idea. Take this escape pod and go get her.
I think they put in the coordinates. They put in the coordinates to go to Magrathea, because then they arrive at Magrathea, and that's when the ship delivers my favorite line of the movie. Guys, it just blows my circuits to tell ya, we're at Magrathea. Like that.
Well, so what ends up happening is that she gets cornered because of Arthur's inability to do a fucking thing.
Right.
Anything. And so she gets trapped and she gets taken to the Vogon ship. Everybody else gets back, and the whole time Arthur's like, no, we gotta go get Trillian. And meanwhile, Beeblebrox is just a flat out idiot now, because half his brain is gone. So they have to put a thinking cap on him, which is powered by lemon juice.
Yep.
And he's like all like, woo, like he's like he just took a hit of cocaine. Again, he is the George Bush of the 80s. So they take him on. So they go off, and so they don't take the ship. They take the escape pod. So they all pile into to the escape pod
because the planet fires on them.
Yes,
the thermonuclear missiles, and they have to escape the ship into the escape pod.
Wait,
and then
that's later. That's
later. They have to go to the planet to rescue her first.
It's after they rescue her because Magrathea is where the missiles happen. But anyway, so they have to go and get her. So they have to take the escape pod for whatever reason. They can't take the ship, and so they take the escape pod out to the Vogue sphere, which is where the Vogons are from. If you didn't,
planet that won't allow you to have any thoughts or ideas
or fun. Yeah. And so they crash land for one, and then they start walking across this desolate Doctor Who, classic Doctor Who scape of this thing, like a quarry,
right?
And then little things come up and hit them in the face. When they walk across, there's a little creature with little pans that pop up and hit them in the face, like they're Sideshow Bob.
Right.
And and it just keeps hitting Arthur first, and he keeps saying, "Guys, did you see that? Did you hear that? It's like something just came up and hit me." And they're like, "Nah, you're just whatever." And so they keep walking, and Arthur gets hit again, and then eventually, finally, the other guys start getting hit. To which then the Beeblebrox is like, "All right, guys, hang on a second. I got an idea. Just stand here for a second." And then three things come up and hit them all. And they're like, "Just run!" And meanwhile, as it pulls back, you keep seeing as they're running, the little things keep flapping up and hitting.
Yeah, and they're there to save her, but there is a line to save anyone, right? Or you have to obviously go get your forms filled out to make anything happen on this planet. And the Vogons have decided they're going to feed her. I forget the name of the beast, but they're going to feed her to some beast that will kill her for kidnapping the president.
Right. It's basically a big tank with a giant deadly fish in it.
Yeah. And they're going filling out the form, or they get to the front of the line and they're told they don't have the appropriate form. So they go and fill out a form, and then they go back up and they realize, hey, this isn't the appropriate form. This is not a presidential
release form. So they had to go and get that.
Yeah.
And this is where so Arthur has to fill that out, and he brings it back so that Beeblebrox can sign it, and that's when he signs it, hugs and kisses Zaphod. And so they give it to him. It's like, okay, all right. So then they have to tell the guy, who has to not radio it as they're lowering her into the killer fish tank, he has to run wherever that is that he has to run to tell them that she's been released, to which there is no argument from the guy because the form is filled out properly.
Yep.
And he's like, release her.
Yep.
And that's it. And that's
it.
That's it. And so they have to wait in this gigantic waiting room for her to come out. And
I love it. I love it. Beeblebrox is like, who are we waiting for again? I'm serious.
Yeah.
But yeah, she had just found out while she was being interrogated, kind of, that Zaphod signed the release form.
Yeah, because she keeps saying that she is Trish McMillan, I think is her last name, right? And so she's like, yeah, and from the planet Earth, and they type it up, and it's like, no, there's no Earth here.
Yeah.
It's like, are you do you have another home planet? And so yeah, so that's how she finds out that it was signed. And then she sees the same signature that Zaphod gave the form for the presidential release.
Yep.
Right.
Ugh, so funny. But this is when
now
they go to Magrathea.
Yes, they all get back. So they go to Magrathea, and they get a message from a hologram guy who says, planet's closed. Like, go turn around, planet's closed. And to which he says, I think Beeblebrox is like, no, screw that, we're going. And it's like, oh, I see that you've chosen to go ahead and visit our fine planet. Just know that we have launched 2 thermonuclear warheads.
We hope you enjoy the 2 missiles we've sent for your craft.
And so they have to decide to get away from it. They need to use the randomizer thing, to which they turn one into a thing of gardenias, a pot of gardenias.
Yep.
And the other into a giant sperm whale who just now realizes he has now sentience. And he's like, oh, hey, look at this.
What am I? What is I?
Oh God, his like internal existential crisis as he falls to the earth or to the planet is absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, it's like what is this? What is this noise that's flying? But I'll call it wind or air. I'll call it air. It's like, oh, what's this incredibly giant thing that's coming at me so fast? It's round. It sounds like ground. It's ground. I hope it's friendly. Hey, ground. And then he smashes into it. And then, but the thoughts of the gardenias are, oh, no, not again.
Yep. The gardenias had a single thought. Oh, no, not again.
And you even hear the pot break in the background when they get out of the ship.
And that's when the ship makes that announcement, Jason, about I'm so pleased as punch or whatever he says.
No, yes, this is guys. It just blows my circuits to tell you.
But so the planet is completely and totally like desolate. It seems like it's abandoned. It's basically like being in Antarctica. But they find these 3 little portals, and Beeblebrox does the one smart thing that he does in the entire movie. He figures out the right one to go into based on a feeling. And so he turns it on and he gets sucked up into it. And then Ford is like, hey man, I'm going. I'll see you later. He goes in, or no, actually Trillian goes in first because everybody's bitching and trying to figure out what they should do. To which Arthur says that why should we do anything based on
the hunch of a man whose brain is fueled by lemons.
Yeah,
this is suicide. And Zaphod says, "Hey, I think I resent that." He's like, "I don't care what you think." He's like, "I'm getting a lot of hostility from you, Alex or Armin, whatever your name is."
Yeah, he's never learned Arthur's name. Yeah,
no.
Yeah, and so
he doesn't even remember they're waiting for Trillian. Like he has no cares for anyone.
So while they're all arguing about Trillian, just takes off and runs through, and then Ford, I think at that point is like, all right, hey, you know what, I'm going through, and then Beeblebrox goes through. Now this is the part that I was like, oh my God, Arthur, Jesus Christ. Either shit or get off the pot, Dante. It's like, this is fucking annoying. And because he just sits there and he thinks about going, then he doesn't. He thinks about going and he doesn't. And he's thinking, he finally decides to go and the thing turns itself off, which is kind of actually good, I guess, because he meets
Slow Robart Fast.
Right, who is probably, he's played by one of my favorite old guy British actors.
Oh, I love him.
Bill Nighy, he was the guy when Doctor Who came back in 2005. I was really wishing he was going to be the Doctor.
Is he Bill Nighy, the science guy?
Yes.
That joke's for y'all.
No, that's for no one. That is for no one. So anyway, Bill Nighy tells him, it's like, hey, you need to come with me real fast. It's real important. He's like, but who are you and why should I go with you? Oh, just come. Just come. Yeah. It's like, you're going to be late. And that even leads into, is that a threat? It's like, no, you're just going to be late. There's nothing to it. It's just going to be late. And this does lead to one of my favorite scenes after we cut back to the other trio who has now gotten to where Deep Thought is. And Deep Thought is just relaxing, watching the TV. She's hanging out. And they say, or she reveals that the answer was on Earth, or the question was on Earth, and that she had the answer. And they're like, but Earth got blown up. It's like, well, bummer. Yeah.
It's when Sam Rockwell, Zaphod has a moment of clarity, and he says, I guess I'm gonna find something else to devote my entire life to.
Yep. I'm just gonna go find something else for my whole life to be about.
But then Ford is like, hey, wait, we got to get that rifle. It's like, hey, so there's supposed to be this gun here, and she kind of opens up like her she's almost like she's built on top of like a Mayan pyramid, you know?
Yeah.
And so they go in and they find the point of view cannon, which so the history of this thing is it was designed by housewives who were tired of men not understanding what they have to deal with on a day-to-day basis.
Right.
Now, it can work on anybody, and it can work on any male by anybody who shoots at that person to understand their point of view. And so, and it's figured out by accident when accidentally Beeblebrock shoots Ford with it. And then they're like, hey, wait a minute. And so they start playing around with it. Now, meanwhile, Bill Nighy takes Arthur to the factory floor. He is the guy who's in charge of he's like one of the guys who's in charge of building planets. And this is a really cool fucking scene. I really like the whole concept of this other dimensional place where people are just sitting there putting together planets.
Yep.
They're using hoses to create oceans, you know,
Yep.
and they're painting each rock individually. It's such a cool, like uber sci-fi concept. I love it.
Me too. It's great.
And that's where we find out that two mice have commissioned the building of a backup Earth. And so it's almost done. And he was sent to get Arthur for the final checks, basically. And back at the little temple, that's where we find out, like, you know, Beeblebrox has another moment of realization that, oh yeah, I am kind of a loser idiot who just blew up this person's planet by signing my name on this thing that I should have just read. Right. And also the fact that, again, it's trying to redeem her as far as why she took off with him. It actually kind of had a negative effect. It's like, well, this is even worse. This is it's like
Right.
you decided in an instant that this person gets you better than maybe the guy you actually had a fucking conversation with.
Right.
That's not good. Anyway.
Yeah, you digress.
I digress because they get picked up by some unseen person, and they and Arthur is taken back to the recreation of his home, and inside waiting for him are Ford and Trillian and Beeblebrox, and there's a big feast for him. And Trillian's little pet mice, which we do see briefly doing a few things, kind of messing with stuff here and there
on the ship. They treated some cords and stuff like that. Yeah,
right. Basically, they were guiding the ship to where they were supposed to be going, and they explain that they had, they were the ones who commissioned the recreation of Earth, and that the question that they've been seeking to ask Deep Thought is inside Arthur's brain. And instead of just asking him questions, they decide to cut open his brain and take it.
Yeah, they want to take his brain. Just a sodding minute. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, and so and they also drugged the food so his friends can't help him. But he ends up breaking free and squishing the mice, and they revert back to the little girls that built Deep Thought.
Mm-hmm.
And so at this point, Bill Nighy comes back. It's like, all right, so anything else here we got to do? We're ready to turn everything on. Basically, is there? Oh wait, no, that's I skipped ahead here. So at this point, the Vogons have caught up to them, and they have another big shootout. They shoot Marvin in the back of the head. This is another thing where they drop the point of view gun stupidly.
Yeah,
because everything that happens, they shouldn't have dropped the gun. They only dropped it next to Marvin's lifeless body for a purpose. And who wants to take the reins from here?
I can't even remember, man. I'm struggling. You've done such a good job. The end of this movie is it blows by so fucking fast.
Yeah, it's been a week since I've watched it, so I'm kind of struggling too.
So okay, so basically they're hiding in Arthur's little camper.
I remember they say, "Take his brain."
Right, but yeah. So they're and also they're shooting at the president too, but they can't stop because they don't have the proper.
They don't have the forms.
They don't have the proper clearance to stop shooting, but we think that Marvin is dead because he gets shot in the back of the head. But he has a Terminator moment where he boots back up and he gets up and he shoots them. He shoots everybody in front of him with the point of view gun, and it ends up making them all bummed out to the point where they just fall over and just lay on the ground.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bemoaning their existence. And so
his attitude had a point after all, right?
Right. And so they all get thrown onto a cart, just piled on top of each other and driven off.
Yes.
And now Bill Nighy comes back. It's like, all right, we're ready to turn everything on. Is there anything missing? Is there anything that you would want to change, or whatever? And Arthur's like, yeah, I don't think I should be part of this planet. And so he's like, hey, Trish, you want to go, do some space necking? And she's like, yeah, sure. Awesome. This is what I wanted to do all along. And then Ford is like, hey, let's.
I know this diner at the end of the universe.
Yeah, I know this little restaurant at the end of the universe. And so they're going to head off and do that.
Yeah. Thank you for handling that last crazy bit of movie.
There is an awful lot in the last bit. If this was a movie made today that wasn't called Dune, they would have left it with Bill Nighy showing him that they're recreating the planet, and then you would see part 2 in next year, or whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But instead, they didn't have any confidence that there would be a sequel. So they told a complete story instead of Dune not telling a complete story and just winging it. And somehow that's going to get nominated for like 12 Oscars. I can do better, guys. I can do better.
Dude, don't
Do
even get
it.
started on Dune.
So anyway.
Well, Hitchhiker's Guide.
Yes.
A fun little movie.
It is definitely a romp.
Yeah. I enjoy it. I still enjoy it. It, again, to Jason's point from earlier, it is hard to talk about. For the most part, we just did kind of a retelling of it. There isn't much to pick off the bones, so to speak, which...
Yeah, I would say that this is a really good movie. This is the type of movie that would do really, really well for you to go onto YouTube and go to movie clips, the movie clips channel. And like normally they pick out like 10 clips from a movie or whatever. This would be a perfect way if you're not sure if you want to watch this movie. If you're not sure, if you're like, well, a couple of the characters are kind of and the storytelling is a little wonky where they have the breaks with we didn't hardly talk about like all of the break-ins that the narrator had, the book itself. Like the fact that we probably didn't need the whole break-in about the babblefish. It's nice to have that scene, but Ford could have said, "Oh, this is a babblefish. It will translate everything you're here."
Right. They just wanted to use the book, and
they wanted to use. It was the first break-in for the book, and it's kind of like, But anyway, and you're not really sure. Then go to YouTube, go find the movie clips channel, and they probably have 10 clips of the movie that you can see, and probably see most of the funny parts. And then if you want to see all the connecting bits, then or you'll know by then. It's like, oh, this is a movie that I will like and that I want to see. And it's but it is a very wonky movie in the sense that it is a collection of scenes and adventures that kind of go throughout the galaxy, but a lot of the jokes and a lot of the comedic bits are really, really, I mean, they're really pretty intelligent.
There's a lot to like in the performances and the jokes. Yeah. I think for the most part, it's worth it just to see Mos Def and Sam Rockwell act in this movie.
Yeah.
But you'll probably get a lot of that in the 10 clips like you mentioned.
Sure.
That being said, I don't have anything more on this particular movie. Jason, do you have any final thoughts?
No, not really.
All right, then. So it's probably time to talk about what's next. And I'll ask myself, hey, Chuck, what's next week? Because next week we return to Italy for the second time.
Chuck is so excited.
Are we going on a Morello tour of Italy?
Yes, we are. We're going Mondo Italiano 2 or whatever you want to call it. Trip to Italy 2.
Yeah, I call the Tour of Italy 2 for a couple of reasons. One, I wanted to use a fake Olive Garden logo for it.
Okay.
And two, I wanted I like the idea of calling it a Tour of Italy 2 because there was no Tour of Italy 1, which is a very Italian thing to do.
Oh, okay. So are we even doing the show, or are we going to have some imposters come?
No, well, we are going to do it. It's just other people will be voice acting us.
Oh my. All right. Yeah. So you're going to get a mixture of Italian movies. We'll have some giallo. We'll have 3 giallos, maybe, I think. And one, what's the third movie is an adventure movie.
Yeah.
So look forward to that. I've said in the past that this show brought me my love of Italian movies. Jason has asked me to clarify when I say Italian cinema. These are mostly schlock movies. Schlock movies.
Yes,
but some of them are good.
Italian cinema has a varying degree of I mean, just like any cinema, right? I mean, but to say Italian cinema, you're not saying Fellini.
I'm making it sound too artful.
You're right. You're talking about something wholly different. You're
However,
talking about.
Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying that it would be like comparing. I don't know.
Well, it would be like saying I'm going to watch some Japanese movies, and you're like, oh, you mean like what's his
Godzilla?
name? Well, that would be what I'm watching. But Jason would probably say,
well,
oh,
like
you mean
Kurosawa?
Yeah, you're going to watch.
Yeah.
Which Kurosawa movies are you going to watch? Well, did he make Godzilla versus the Smog Monster? Then no, I don't think I'm watching any of his.
Yeah,
movies.
that's a good way of putting it for sure.
Let's not belabor this, but I will argue the first movie we're watching is well made, very stylish, and I think quite good. And it's called Blood and Black Lace,
and it's got my favorite star in it.
Yes, it does. Cameron Mitchell.
God, it does.
So tune in next week for that. But before that, Jeff, what's coming up on B-Movie Enema, etc.?
Yeah, so let's talk about Monster Mondays real quick here. Again, I had said this probably last week. I intended on Monster Mondays becoming a YouTube show. I got some problems with that. Part of it is just simply it's a lot of haggling that I have to do that I don't want to do. But it's going to be back next week in its original format, in its podcast format. And it's a Godzilla month. It's a Millennium Era month. I'm going to finish the 5 remaining Millennium Era Godzilla movies that I have not yet covered, starting with Godzilla 2000. Good stuff there. Both awesome. Monster Mondays and Blood and Black Lace. Wherever you're listening to this show right now, do it again next week for those. I think that's the easiest way to say that. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, Instagram. Should be good times there. This Friday, I have an actual New Year's Eve and New Year's Day movie to cover on B-Movie Enema. So this Friday morning, come and read, go to bmovieenema.com and read my my review of Ghost Keeper, a little obscure, kind of Canadian low budget Shining, and it's really quite good. It's quite good.
Interesting.
It's quite good. So check that out. Next month on B-Movie Enema, it's Andy Sedaris month.
Oh no,
we got 4 Andy Sedaris classics, and it's fantastic. Anyway, B-Movie Enema can also be followed on Facebook and Twitter. Do those things, would you? It'd be sweet of you. And you can also catch most of season 2 B-Movie Enema, the series, now that that's complete, over at the B-Movie Enema YouTube channel. You can also go to the YouTube or the B-Movie Enema Vimeo channel to see everything that's ever been released there. Do those things, would you?
Yeah.
So with that, I think it's time to tell 2021 so long and thanks for all the fish. I hope everybody has had a good 2021. It's been hit or miss, I think, in general.
Yeah.
And I think that 2022, I'm going to stop saying, well, it's got to be better, right? Because when you become in your mid 40s, like we are mostly, we realize it doesn't get any better. We just get older and things suck more.
All right, Marvin,
with that,
let's go.
With that, we'll see you next year. I am Jeff Arbuckle.
I'm Chuck Moore.
I'm Jason Oliver, and you have been listening to Film Seizure.